On this episode of Buff's Garage, we finally get the International Travelall into primer and maybe paint. Stay tuned. So this is the part of the wheel well. We're going to take some of our window screen, we're going to put it in place. Morning workout completed. Sun's coming up in the background. That really gets me started for the entire day. So this morning we're going to wrap up some of the body work on the Travelall. Hopefully get that knocked out. Because again, we're not trying to win any awards here. We're just trying to get it covered up enough, throw some paint on it. Somebody could drive it around for a while and really enjoy it just the way it is. And then if they ever got the desire or funds, then they could watch this video, cut all those parts out and repair it properly. But for now, they could just get in and drive it and enjoy it with a few things. They need, back seat, they need some carpet, but all in all, it's going to be a great little rig. I mean, it fires up even in this colder weather. It's, I don't know, high 40s today. It's still one pump, that sucker fires right up. So anyway, we're gonna work on that today. Hopefully get it painted in the next day or so, get the video out to you guys so you can enjoy it. And then I've got to prep because Thanksgiving's coming up and I've got to get a video out before my normal time I'd be wrapping up a video. So anyway, it's gonna be a long week and a half, but let's get this Travelall painted. And that brings us to today's sponsor, Factor. When I went full-time YouTube, I thought I'd have more time for making dinner, just being home every evening. But the truth is, I get so caught up in wrenching and editing, I just forget to eat. And that's where Factor comes in. Factor delivers delicious, ready-to-eat meals right to your door. They're fresh, never frozen. You can choose from a menu of over 35 options every week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. I chose the Protein Plus option. They're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snack bites, and more. Let's try this apple beet ginger cold pressed juice. That's pretty good. Sweet, but not too sweet. Factor meals completely eliminate the hassles of prepping, cooking, and even cleaning up afterwards. Just 2 minutes in the microwave and... Where did I put my fork? There's no fork! Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code 50buffs to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50buffs at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. I'd like to thank Factor for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to work after I eat. Back at the shop, about to start sanding and finishing up the bodywork on this thing so we can get it into primer. But it has been raining for the last day and a half, and there's just a lot of moisture in the air. So I'm going to get the old wood stove going. I don't necessarily need the heat. It's warm enough in here, but it'll help kind of dissipate a lot of that moisture so that when we do go to spray, the humidity's not 90%. So let me get this thing going and we are back to sanding. The truck did sit outside for a few days and the evidence is there. Got some leaves on it. So we're going to clean all this off. And then I got to finish that roof because it needs a little bit more love. We've got this wheel arch to fix and a little hole back there. A few down here on the rockers. Nothing too big. This one's going to be challenging, but just as much as the other one. This has pulled out really, really well. I'm going to keep working on that and then finish filling in these holes. I need some screen for that one to hold that mud. But this side's starting to come around. You guys can make fun of it all you want, but it's starting to come around. It's starting to get into shape. We'll finish this rocker up, and then we're gonna do the primer. And hopefully we can get it into paint in the next 2 days. And then we gotta sell it. I got a whole bunch of cars that I need to get sold, and you guys could own one of them if you want them. Just hit me up at buffsgarage@gmail.com. If you see a car that you like, you know, send me a message. If I still got it, it's probably for sale, and you could own it if you want it. Hi, I'm Buff from Buff's Garage, and you're going to want to check out these Black Friday deals we're having here at Buff's Garage. Check out this 1955 Buick Super. This thing sat for over 20 years, and now it could be yours for the low, low price of $2,999. This thing is a two-door hardtop with a Buick nailhead motor, and this thing could be yours for the low, low price of $2,999. If you're not a fan of the classics and you want something more turnkey, look no more to the A-Team van. That's right, we built the A-Team van for Duct Tape Drags 2024, and you can see it in exclusive videos here. But also it was in the latest video with David Freiberg.
Is it possible to turn down the A-Team van? No.
It's got to be in. This thing's really cool, I got to say.
Yeah? You like the A-Team van?
Yeah.
Battle of the Vans! Man, it's a great view right across the nose of these two vans, and the A100's out way ahead of the A-Team.
This van turns heads. It also has working AC, working heat, power steering, power brakes, power windows, and this thing has a GM Goodrich engine just put in 20,000 miles ago. This thing has brand new tires and it's ready for the road at a low, low price of $4,999. Don't want to do an LS swap? Well, this thing comes with one already in it. This is a 2004 Chevrolet Avalanche with a 5.3-liter V8, automatic transmission, four-wheel drive, power brakes, power steering, power windows, power locks, key fob. It has AC, heat, everything works. Just gotta jump in and go. Now for the low, low price of $5,999. So come on down for our Black Friday sale or hit us up at buffsgarage.com. Check out the Black Friday sale on these t-shirts, hats, even hoodies, all at a discounted price for Black Friday. And don't forget stickers for the kids. All apparel is $5 off per item and free shipping over $50 at buffsgarage.com.
Be there.
Don't forget to come see us at Buff's Garage for the Black Friday sale this week only. So we're going to put our mesh over this hole, and I was trying to tuck it in behind there, and every time I put it in there, it would kind of fall back into the hole, not stay up near the front. So we're going to add a little bit of filler to help hold it in place. That should be enough. We don't have to go crazy on this. Put our piece in there now. Should stay just right on the front side there, and we should be able to go ahead and put some short strand fiberglass over that and get this part wrapped up. Finish that front part there, and then work our way back and around. With the bodywork nearing completion, I'm now working on masking this off, and I had some okay painter's tape laying around that I used up again from the A-Team van build, and now I'm just using the cheap stuff from the dollar store to try to keep costs down. And honestly, I just don't want to have to drive clear to town, and the dollar store is where pretty much they all are, in the middle of a field out in the middle of nowhere. So it was close and it was cheap. I also grabbed some of this craft paper because I'm honestly running out of stuff here to use as mask, and just using tape alone is just inefficient. And the craft paper was like $3 for a 10-foot roll, so that'll work. Anyway, I'm getting this thing masked off as decent as I can. It's gonna hopefully avoid the cleanup at the end, but if I do get a little bit of overspray on windows and stuff, that should come off with a razor blade. The hard part's getting it off the parts you don't want it on, like wheels, tires, chrome, bumpers. The seals and stuff have been painted before. You can see it because this thing's been painted at least a couple of times in the past. I'm not as worried about getting it on the seals. My worry is more matching their tape mark to kind of reduce the obvious repaint. It's not going to be great, but it's going to be decent. Again, this is maybe a 20-footer The bodywork was done just about as cheap as I could do it, and it's not great. But I will say it's probably better than the A-Team van. The A-Team van, I literally hit a couple of spots with some short strand fiberglass, but beyond that, I really did no bodywork. I just sanded off bad paint and the rubber from the trim, and that was really it. It's dented, it's got bad spots in it, and now it has runs. It's not super glossy, it's not super smooth, but everybody recognizes that van no matter where I go. Just today, going to the store, I got stopped twice by people saying, hey, I really love your van. Sometimes the paint job, even if it's not great, makes all the difference. So don't be afraid to paint your own project. You can obviously do it cheaper, maybe rolling it on or using the wrong kind of paint, but it doesn't have to be a $5,000 paint job. Most of a $5,000 paint job, honestly, is in the bodywork. So if you don't care that much about the finished product, meaning you just want to put paint on it, get some color on it, and get it out and about so that it's not mismatched, or you can throw a coat of paint on it. The main color brown I got for this was just under $300, and that's real automotive paint. It's a single stage enamel. I got it in a metallic color. It's real paint. What I got for the top and what was going to be the bottom is tractor paint, which gives you a little bit thicker, more durable finish, and of course I got it at a cheap price.
That is $26.99. And then I saw this international white, and I do have an international, and you could tell they repainted it more of a tan color than the white. So the original paint was white, and the repaint was tan. Well, this international white is kind of tan, and look at this. I think this is what we're getting.
But whenever I started looking up these 1974 International Travelalls, the secondary color is supposed to be inside this band right here. And that's not how they repainted it when they repainted it. So I'm going to do what should have been done from the beginning, and I'm going to paint it white in the middle with brown on the bottom and the top. This will still be white, middle will be white. Now, it's going to show all of my really bad bodywork, but that's okay. We just want to get the shape back. We don't want giant rust holes in it, and that's good enough. Hopefully somebody will buy it and they'll enjoy it, and then maybe somewhere down the road they either sell it or they do the bodywork correctly. Either way, it'll get it by for a while, putting color on it, driving around, it'll look nice. You guys will see. All right, so yeah, we still have a little bit of bodywork left. It's not great, but it's shaping up. But we're gonna finish the masking, finish sanding everything down, and then it's time for paint. Well, as you can see, the bodywork is still moving along, not nearly as quickly as I'd hoped. My goal was to have all the bodywork done, sanded, and then bring you guys back as soon as that part was done and go over the painting process. And I'll be honest, I've already caught a lot of flack in the comments and in messages, basically stating, why would you do that to such an amazing vehicle? Well, a couple reasons. Number one, this vehicle sat for a very long time and nobody bought it. When I talked to the guy, he was honestly wondering if I was going to do bodywork, and I flat out told him no, I was not. I wanted to get it running and driving, and I did, and I love this truck. Like, it fires up with one pump and it drives great, stops great, everything is good on this truck except for the bodywork and the paint. Well, and the interior's lacking in a few areas, but it's still pretty good. So I decided to go ahead and see if I couldn't tackle some of the bodywork, hoping that I wouldn't go overboard, and then I went overboard. Now, when I grew up, my first car was a 1968 Chevelle that my father and I pulled out of a field and got it home and got it running and driving, and I fell in love with that car. As a teenager, it was one of my favorite vehicles, and as an adult, I still love the 68 with the small tail lights. Now you look at this monstrosity and you think, well, why? Just why? Well, first of all, I'm not buying reproduction parts for this vehicle. I'm not doing it. It's not within my budget nor my desire to do so. If somebody decided they wanted to buy this and do it right, watch the video, you'll see where the rust is at and cut it out. I will say on the other side, somebody's already cut that rear fender back there and replaced it poorly. But it was replaced. And then since then, somebody has then filled it in with foam and Bondo, to which I am now refilling with foam and short strand fiberglass on the other side. This side, this side, all they did was foam it and Bondo it. And so what we did was we foamed it and we're short strand fiberglass. And slowly it's taking shape. The point of bringing up my 68 Chevelle was that's how we fixed it back then. It needed a whole new rear quarter. Back then you couldn't find a stamped out piece of 68 Chevelle. And 68 and 69 Chevelle body parts, which would be the same part, were a little harder to come by, especially for a teenage kid that had a whole $600 in the car as it was. So my dad taught me the wrong way to do it, and he used straight Bondo, no mesh, nothing else, and we literally put layer after layer of Bondo on that fender that was completely caved in. We did not bang it out. we just Bondoed it, and then we shaved it down, and then we sanded it until we got the look of a fender lip. It was the wrong way to do it, and somebody at some point fixed it, because I saw the car up for auction at Barrett-Jackson for $38,000, which is why I don't own my first car. It was just, I couldn't afford the $38,000 price tag. So that tells you that a $600 car can be worth something if somebody puts the time and effort into it. I'm not going to say this vehicle is going to be worth much more than what I paid for it after I'm done with it, but it will have paint on it, and it will not show the rust holes the way it does now. It will not be fixed correctly, but somebody can come in and do it. I'm leaving that opportunity up there. So for now, we're just getting the shape back. That's all we're really working on. I'm not trying to go overboard, just sanding out and smoothing the short strand fiberglass to fill in the holes and create a shape that was completely missing on both of these. If you don't believe me, go back and check out that first video and really look at it. It's right there on the trailer. It just needs, oh, darn it. No. I need my money back. It's falling apart. The rockers were gone, the rears were gone, and these rear fenders were gone. The fronts are still there because those have been replaced. Somebody put different front fenders on this thing. That's why they're not all rusted out. So all I can say is, I see the messages, I see the comments. I'm not saying this is what you should do to your vehicle. I'm not saying this is what you should do to your 74 International Travelall. What I'm saying is, this is something you can do to get by with not cutting all the metal out and replacing, especially if you don't have the tools to cut it out and weld in new. Maybe you're not a fabricator. Maybe you don't have the money to go buy all new panels and cut them out, and honestly then weld them in. Maybe you just want it to look a little bit nicer, dress it up a bit so that you can take it out for date night or on the weekends. Well, that's what this is gonna do. We're gonna finish out this fender. It's gonna look okay. It's not gonna be great. It's not even gonna be good. It's just gonna be okay. We're gonna fix this as well. We're gonna try to make it as waveless as possible, and that's saying a lot considering where this truck came from. I mean, every single one of the doors, all 4 doors, the bottoms are pushed out. So these doors are tweaked, or maybe the body's tweaked, but all 4 doors, the bottoms are pushed out and do not align with the rocker. So I'm just not that particular about it. In the end, is it the right way to do it? No. Is it a way to do it? Yes. And it's a lot cheaper and a lot, I'll just say it's a lot cheaper. I'm not going to say it's easier. I will tell you that having my 110 MIG welder here, I could have literally cut this out and tacked in a piece of metal and then just skim coated it and we'd have been done. Just a little bit of fabrication. And in another episode, I will show you how to do that on a different vehicle. This one, we're just painting and getting out the door. We're gonna line up a buyer for it. I will disclose everything about this truck. So don't think that I'm scamming anybody. I'm not asking a whole lot for this truck. Let's finish this out, get it into shape, and then I'm ready to start shooting paint. Like, I'm ready now, but the Bodywork says I'm not. So we'll wait a little bit longer and we'll finish this up. Well, look who decided to show up now that the hard work is over. So what I'm doing now is, because I'm tired of cleaning this shop over and over and over, I'm putting a little bit of a plastic barrier between us and all the tools and everything else. Just sanding has been enough that I'm getting dust on everything. So I've kind of got all the dust knocked down at least, and have been sweeping it all up and clearing it out. But I've noticed that when I paint, little sprinkles of happiness go on everything. And this part of the shop used to be a paint booth, and you can see that because, number one, he also had a tarp system set up inside here, but also there's paint splatter all over the wall. So to prevent that from happening from me and anything that I'm painting, we're gonna have this plastic tarp scenario going, and whenever I have to paint or anything, we'll just set this up. I'm going to go ahead and finish the curtain on this side, and we're going to run them all the way out, put a fan over on the door that'll help suck out all the bad air, and we should have ourselves a homemade paint booth. Yeah, give me a few minutes to put all this plastic up and I'll be done. It almost worked. This will help keep the dust off of things and the paint splatters and everything. Just, it wasn't expensive. This stuff is heavier duty, but the stuff I started with was just as effective, and it's super lightweight, and it was at dollar store for, I think, $1.99 a roll, 9 by 12 feet. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get one extra one. So 1, 2, 3, just grab 4. And we'll just drive in, seal her up, wipe it all down, shoot it, paint it, and we're done. So now I've just given it a nice wipe down here, and then we'll follow it up with some wax and grease remover. I've got, I'd say 95% of all the body work completed. And with that, it's not great, but it really never was supposed to be. I really took on way too much with this project because the bodywork I just wasn't that worried about. I'm not asking a lot for this truck, therefore it didn't deserve or even need the amount of effort I put into it. And it's not great. It's not the way it should be. It's just good enough. And hopefully it'll look pretty good once it's all covered in paint. It was just meant to kind of fill in the gaps in the roof here. And then stupidly, I jumped into the rockers. And that's where my mistake was made. because the rockers are so bad that they now have the name rockers for a reason, because they are full of rock, foam and rock, and some short strand fiberglass. Oh, and don't forget our mesh from our door screen. I just don't care that much. It's a great truck, and somebody will hopefully give it the love it needs. In the meantime, we're going to just put some color on it and just give it a whole renewed look. So I'll finish wiping this down and finish that little bit of body work, and then we're going to move it into our homemade paint booth and get it ready to prime. Well, I'm back here this morning. It's bright and early, even before the sun came up, and it's only 32 degrees outside, so we are nearing the absolute cold point. It's probably about 60-65 in the shop, so I got the heater on trying to get things warmed up. It's really time to get this thing in primer and paint. Now, this is a 2-color paint job because of course it is. I have to make everything more difficult for myself. But remember, they did the white tan color on the bottom, brown, white tan on the top. But the original paint for this was supposed to be Arctic white on the top, Arctic white in the center, with brown everywhere else. So I think what I'm going to do is try to closely mimic what should have been from the original, and we're gonna stamp it in white on the top, white in the center. I'll use these holes as a guide for where I'm going to put my tape. And everywhere else is going to get that 2020 whatever brown that I chose that's from GM. But it's a metallic brown, so it won't be the exact color that it came out with, which honestly isn't the color that it is now. Whoever repainted it did it kind of in a brown color and a tan color instead of the Arctic white and the burnished gold. So this thing should have had a burnished gold color to it. And now it kind of will, because what we're using is really close to that. So to do this as best as I can, considering the bodywork is horrible, there's no metal work that's been done, I'm going to at least put it in primer so the paint sticks. So let's get the shop warmed up, let's get the gun ready, let's shoot some primer. You guys need to remind me to somehow fabricate a paint shaker, because this sucks. This was right off the shelf, so it wasn't even shaken before I got it. But when I bought the paint 2 weeks ago, the paint was shaken great. That's perfect. Doesn't do me any good now. At least it was mixed there. This primer though, it's basically like a big glob just sitting at the bottom. And there's just no easy way to get the two to mix. It's at least a gray color now. It was like an oily color with the lump of gray on the bottom. I guess we'll just keep working this in until it's consistent throughout. Not just one big lump of gray sitting at the bottom. I would be concerned, but this is exactly what the last gallon looked like when I shot the A-Team van, so I think it just is what it is. I think if you had a paint shaker, it would drastically reduce the effort I'm putting into it right now. If it were a 5-gallon bucket. Oh, paint stirrer starting to break. That's a bad sign. I want it to thin out, not set back up. I can't imagine it's because it's 65 degrees in here right now. That couldn't be the problem. Anyway, let's get this mixed up because I gotta get this shot. This wants 24 hours to dry before you apply your base coat. And I think we'll be lucky if we give it 4. Because why do it right when you can do it wrong? It's gonna fail miserably. We'll just see how the day goes. But I'm running out of time. The sooner I get it on with the cold temperatures, the sooner it'll dry, and hopefully the sooner I can apply the base coat, because I gotta get this thing out of here. You know the old rule, why do it right when you can do it right now? That's the idea behind the A-Team van, which is how we painted it in 2.5 days. Once again, the bodywork on that's what took so long. And on this one, I really screwed up and just spent way too much time and effort on the bodywork. I really shouldn't have, because it still doesn't look great. So I feel like I made a lot of effort for no reason. So that's just a point to you guys. Don't get too hung up with the bodywork. At the end of the day, it's going to look like what it's going to look like. And if it doesn't turn out great and you spent a ton of time on it, you're just going to be disappointed. So if you don't do a lot of anything and it turns out pretty good, you won't be disappointed. You'll be pretty excited, I think, because you didn't make any real major effort. And that's kind of the thought process I got to yesterday. Is if a guy's not really good at this kind of stuff, which I'm not, bodywork, painting, what have you, just don't put too much effort into it. Don't put too much money into it. Don't put too much time into it, because at the end of the day, you're just going to be disappointed if it doesn't turn out great. Let's be clear. The guys that do it really well have been doing it for a long time. They're very, very versed at it, and they generally don't use cheap paint, Dalton excluded. Most of these guys are using $1,000 or more worth of paint. And then you add in the high quality primer they use, all of the tools they use to do the body work. At the end of the day, they've got thousands of hours into body work, and even more into the paint. And then they cut and polish the whole thing because they bury it in clear. So these guys know what they're doing, but they still spend the money to make them look as good as they do. We're just trying to make it look okay. I overspent, overcommitted. I say overspent. Really, I got about 400 bucks into this. It's still more than I wanted to spend. The reason why is because I wanted a metallic gold, the metallic brown gold color, and you can't get that where I'm at in tractor paint. And I've already tried adding metallic to tractor paint before. It didn't turn out well. If I'd have done like a clear coat over top and then metallic maybe, but at this point, this was $200 and some, so just under 300 bucks for that. So think about it, that's half the cost right there. Then you got a gallon of primer, you got the super cheap white that I got, and then various activators, reducers. Those are things you really need, especially today when it's cool weather. If I would have just been smart and painted it 2 weeks ago, like I was trying to do, it was still warm out, and I probably wouldn't have this problem. Anyway, it's probably going to take me another half hour or longer to get this mixed, so no reason for you to stick around and watch. We'll come back when I start painting. Well guys, the body work isn't great. It's not even good. I've mentioned that before. But I've run out of time. So we're just going to prime it, and it's supposed to take up to 24 hours to dry. It's a whole 65 degrees in here, so I'm sure it'll just dry right up right away, and there won't be any issues with going and slapping color on it later today. This is all a very bad idea, but it's what I got, so it's what you get. Here we go. Went ahead and got a new respirator because the other one fell off of its hook and the little cartridges broke off. So that doesn't work very well when you don't have a way to attach the cartridges. So since I would like to not have any respiratory issues right away, I'm going to use that. Now we got fans going to help evacuate this smell out, which of course makes it colder in here. Nothing but logic. Go. again, we have a problem. This is the inline dryer for the gun, and it's plastic and it's snapped off. So you might want to invest in a little bit better one if you want to use it more than once. But we're just going to take it out and say screw it, put that in the gun, and hopefully this finishes up what we're trying to do. Taking a few minutes to fish this out, but we got it out. Now let's see if we can't get the other piece in there and get back to work. So I just wrapped up a second coat and it is not spraying very well. Let me just show you the bottom there. So that primer's garbage. I wanted to try to use some more farm base or tractor base paint. I chose to go to Tractor Supply and they didn't have Van Sickle, they had Magic with a J. That stuff's garbage. Now granted, it might have sat on the shelf for a while, but it did not want to remix. When I was stirring it, I did finally get it mostly mixed, poured it into here, and it was fluid when I poured it in here. Then added reducer, thinned it out. It didn't want to spray worth a crap. It's got a lot of splatters and stuff, and I've adjusted the gun every which way I can. It just didn't want to spray through the gun. So I've done the best that I can with what I've got. It's not great, and that's okay. The big issue is I was not planning on block sanding this before I paint it. I'm still not. We'll see how bad it is once it dries, but I'm going to try to clean this gun out so it's not completely ruined. But this primer's garbage. I would not use it again. And it is Magic brand. I got it at Tractor Supply. I'll go back to Van Sickle. It sprayed great. I would absolutely use Van Sickle primer again. But this stuff was junk. I mean, maybe it's great with a roller and a brush, but through a gun, it's garbage. I would never use it again. So we got the primer on, not great, but you know what? It's on, and that's what we wanted to get to today, and we got there. So we've accomplished that goal. Now I'm going to clean this up, and we'll come back and see how it dries, and maybe put some paint on it. That's not good. It's been here all day and it's still tacky. This was supposed to be dry to the touch within an hour, and it's been in here all day. So I don't know what to tell you guys, other than I guess you're gonna have to wait around for part 3 when I go ahead and block sand all this crappy primer down, get it all smooth, and then we put on 2 different colors of paint just so I can take it camping. At this point, it's almost too cold to even go camping. But we're gonna do it, and you're gonna see it here on Buff's Garage. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Come on down to Buff's Garage where we can paint that car for just $399.99. That's right, we can do the body work, we can do the primer and the paint all together for just $399.99. A little scratch at the grocery store? Well, don't you fear. Head on down to Buff's Garage where we can paint that car, where we can paint that car for $399.99. This is not Earl Scheib, and it won't look good, but we can still paint it, primer it, we'll even do the body work, all inclusive at Buff's Garage. Come on down to Buff's Garage where we can paint that car for just $399.99. That's right, we can do the body work, we can do the primer and the paint all together for just $399.99. A little scratch at the grocery store? Well, don't you fear. Head on down to Buff's Garage where we can paint that car, where we can paint that car for $399.99. This is not Earl Scheib and it won't look good, but we can still paint it, primer it, we'll even do the body work, all inclusive at Buff's Garage, $399.99. Make sure to tell them Buff sent you.